Hello, welcome back to my channel on this very, very cold January day. Here in Chicago, it is like -15 today. It is truly so cold outside. But it does look very lovely. All of the snow actually staying on the ground as opposed to melting away like it did earlier this winter. And a great time to kind of cozy up with a warm cup of tea and thinking a little bit about what my priorities are for 2024 and my reading goals. So thank you all for being here. Today I wanted to just do a quick overview of some of the books I'm really excited about that are coming out in 2024, and then do just like a little recap of some of the priorities I've been noodling on for my own reading this year. So cozy up, grab something warm to drink as well, and let's dive right in. So I thought we could talk through some of my anticipated releases first and foremost. And one of my big priorities for this year is really reading what I already own. So I've watched so many videos already this year of people talking through anticipated releases they're really excited about. And most of the books on this list are either sequels to series I'm already reading and loving, or books from authors who I know I love and feel really confident buying their book. Only one or two of them are sort of stretches where I think the book sounds really good, but I don't necessarily know anything about the author. So this is a shorter list than you might have seen with other people, and I tried to really tailor it to books that I am really confident I'll love. Okay, I just changed the blinds a little bit, so hopefully you aren't being blinded anymore, but you can still see me. We'll see how that goes. So first and foremost on this list is A Season for Scandal by Laura Wood. This book is expected to come out on February 1st of this year, so it's really close to its release date already. And it is a sequel, though not necessarily a story sequel, more like a world sequel, to An Agency for Scandal by Laura Wood, which came out in 2023. I loved this book so much. I read it at the very end of last year, and it is such a treat. It's as if a Regency romance book and a spy novel kind of had a baby. The basic premise is that there is this sort of secret society of women called the Aviary who take on espionage work for women in order they take on sort of espionage work assignments from women on behalf of women, and they're entirely women operated. So lots of things like, abusive or cheating husbands, digging up blackmail on them to empower the woman to be able to leave and have her financial freedom, things like that. The first book followed a character named Izzy, and I believe the sequel follows an entirely new set of characters, all of whom are doing work with the Aviary. I gobbled this first book up, and I cannot wait for the sequel in February. The next book on my list is actually the only book from an author I've never read before, but I just cannot get over how much I love the description, so I'm really, really hopeful I will love this book. My understanding is that this is a heist book featuring the proprietor of a tea shop that is kind of mostly visited by the seedy underground of the vampire world. So it seems to incorporate a lot of the stuff that I love. I love heists, I love tea, and I love anything that has to do with sort of the thieving and criminal underworld. So I have seen a ton of promotion for this book since really early last year, and I'm really hopeful it's going to deliver. Next on my list is Trouble by Lex Croucher, which comes out in the US on March 5th, 2024. I love Lex Croucher's romance books. They're like always historical romance, usually set in the Regency era, though they have put out some other books in more of a medieval time. This book, Trouble, is, I believe, supposed to be the story of a governess who might fall in love with her employer. It's giving big Sound of Music vibes to me, having just read the blurb. But I have loved Lex Croucher's other books. Infamous is the most recent physical copy I have of one of their books, but they're always just laugh out loud funny, almost always queer love stories, and just like such fun, easy listening. So I really, really enjoy their books, and I typically listen on audio, so I would highly recommend the audiobook experience in particular. Next up, on May 7th, 2024, is More Than This by Crystal Marquis, which is a sequel to The Davenports by Crystal Marquis. This was one of the best books I picked up last year. It is a historical romance book following a group of young Black women in 1910s Chicago. And is actually based on a real-life family, the family of C.R. Patterson, who escaped enslavement in the American South in the 1800s, and upon moving north, opened his own motor vehicle company and became an incredibly wealthy and successful Black man at a time when those were very few and far between. So I think these books are just so fun because they're such a rich and vivid depiction of really how varied Black life in America was at the turn of the century, and tells the story not only of sort of a wealthy historical romance novel, but engages with issues around civil rights and sort of the role of women in society at large. So these books are absolutely fantastic, and I'm super excited to read the sequel. After that, on July 18th, we have Queen Bee by Juno Dawson. This is a book, I believe it's officially in the Her Majesty Royal Coven series, which I have the first 2 books of and have absolutely loved. But instead of picking up where they left off, which was a big cliffhanger, this book is actually going to go back hundreds and hundreds of years in the past and show us the origins of Her Majesty's Royal Coven when it was founded by Queen Anne Boleyn, who was a witch herself in this version of the world. So I'm really excited to pick this up, although I am feeling slightly aggrieved that we are leaving the main storyline behind. But these books, these Her Majesty Royal Coven books, are so much fun. Juno Dawson is primarily a TV writer, and they really have the energy of a CW show, but are just so fun. And again, they engage with really important topics, especially around LGBTQ identity. So they're just a blast. And I can't wait for the next book to come out. If you haven't read these, you absolutely should. And then in September, there are 2 releases that I am super jazzed about. The first of which is A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana on September 10th. I think these actually both come out on the same day. So Sangu Mandana is who gave us the Very Secret Society for Irregular Witches, which was an absolute pleasure and joy to read. This was on a lot of people's top books of last year, and for good reason. It's an incredibly sweet story, and my understanding is this new book isn't exactly a sequel. I kind of assume it's part of the same world, but the blurb does describe magical guilds, and there weren't any guilds in the original book, so this could be a whole new world. The basic pitch on the story is that a young, powerful witch kind of gets outcast from her society in our modern day times because she resurrects her very recently deceased aunt. And kind of facing this new reality, she starts operating an inn with her aunt and meets all sort of quirky people and lives life at a very different pace. So I'm really hopeful for this story. I so loved the character work of the first book. It was so cozy and heartwarming and really endearing, and I'm hopeful that we will see a similar sense of coziness in this next installment. Then last but not least on this list of anticipated releases is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, which also comes out on September 10th. This is the highly anticipated sequel to A House on the Cerulean Sea, also by T.J. Klune, which was one of the best books I read in 2022. And I am so excited to be revisiting this world and these characters. The House on the Cerulean Sea is a story about a child welfare worker for magical children. And he visits this orphanage that is very isolated and houses some of the most dangerous magical children, all of whom are just precious, like very endearing, very energetic, very silly, and who are cared for by a very sort of eccentric and charming man who runs the orphanage. So it is like part queer love story, and very much a story about chosen family and facing oppression in the world. But it's another very cozy, sweet, heartwarming story that really feels like a hug the whole time you're reading. So I'm really hopeful that I will love that sequel as well. So beyond those anticipated releases, I thought it would be nice to just cover a couple of my reading priorities for 2024, as I know a lot of us are thinking about what books we're excited about and how we want to sort of focus our reading in the new year. Well, it looks like you're getting blinded again. Okay, I hope you can see. Okay, I hope you can see. The lighting is changing very quickly in here. So, like I said, one of my main reading priorities is to really focus on the books that I already own and I'm really excited about on my shelves before I buy a bunch of new books. So I've already pulled kind of a pile of books that I'm really excited about and that I want to prioritize this year. And we'll see how that goes. I think between my audiobook app and the library and my existing collection of books that I've yet to read, there is such a wealth of stories available to me. And I just like to prioritize not buying first as often. Other big priorities for me are to kind of continue my project of reading classic women writers. This year, I think in particular, I'd love to read Ursula K. Le Guin for the first time. I'd love to read some Toni Morrison. I actually grew up on one of Toni Morrison's children's books, but I've never read any of her work for adults, so I would love to pick up a couple of her books. And last but not least is Agatha Christie. And I actually have already listened to my first Agatha Christie book and really loved it. So I'm feeling very hopeful and confident that I will, be able to make it through those three authors this year. Something else I'd really like to try this year is to start reading some books that I feel like I missed out on. So like books I missed. When I was a kid, I was a really avid reader, but I didn't actually read all of the books that have since become like sort of generational classics for people my age. And just because I'm a grown-up doesn't mean I feel like I should have to miss out on that. So books like Aragon, I never read. His Dark Materials totally passed me by. And other things like the Thief series and the Graceling series. So I think I would really love to start reading some of those books this year. I think it'll be a great way to incorporate more middle grade and young adult fiction, which often has that sense of whimsy and that sense of ease while reading. And it'll like get me a little bit more plugged into the zeitgeist. So that I, know what people are referring to when they talk about books that they loved when they read as kids and teenagers. And then last but not least, I think I'd really like to prioritize reading more short stories this year. I read a lot more novellas in the last 2 years than I have really ever done before, and I really enjoyed that. I really enjoyed the art of the short writing format. And I think there's a lot of great value that comes out of getting to really just like dip in and out of a concept. I also know there have just been so many great short story collections published in the last few years that I haven't gotten to. So, for example, I'd really love to read The Office of Historical Corrections. There's been a Terry Pratchett collection put out called With the Stroke of a Pen that I think would be incredible. I'd love to continue to expand my sci-fi reading. So I think Ted Chiang's Your Life and Other Stories is supposed to be really great. So picking up some of those short story collections, I think would really enrich my 2024. So that's everything I have for you. I hope you are staying warm wherever you are, and I hope you are really feeling the excitement and power of a reset at the beginning of this new year, and getting all jazzed up about the books you're going to read. I know I am as well. Definitely let me know what your priority reads are for 2024, be they anticipated releases or other books that you have on your shelves. And let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned here, because I think a lot of these are highly anticipated sequels. So I'd love to know if you're excited about them too. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!